or eye products, eye creams, things like that. Today, what we're getting into is simply building a basic routine. And I wanted to do a little call about this because we do host group consultations. This is real. So, if you're ever curious, or if you've got time after this call today, we've got one that starts on the hour here. We get into that. We spend a lot of time, anywhere between an hour to 90 minutes, building a basic routine. But sometimes that's a lot of time. That's a big time commitment. So, it's a very, very common inquiry. It's something that comes up all the time. It's like, what do I use? In what order do I use them? All of that. So, that's kind of what we're going to be talking about here. Now, I'd love for you guys, as we're going along, to pop questions in the chat. And I'll be kind of monitoring the chat. If you're joining on social media, Grace will let me know if you have questions there. But before we get too far in the whole, dialogue about all this, I do want to invite Grace in, introduce herself, and then also share our promo for this call today.
Hi, thanks, Kate. I'm Grace. I am the email marketing lead here at Anne-Marie, and I just love it so much. But today we are offering a special pairing. If you purchase any facial moisturizer, you will receive 40% off any facial toner with the code ASC Facial 40 at checkout. And that code is live until 3:30 p.m. today. I realize in the chat it says 1 p.m. I'm fixing that. But 3:30 Pacific time is when that code cuts off. So you have a couple hours to shop. But yeah, that's it.
Cool. So it's a really good time if you're in need of restocking, or if you're joining us and you're brand new and you're just kind of trying to understand. Because we're offering 40% on the facial toners, all of the facial toners, it's a great time to stock up. And of course, this is 40% with the purchase of any facial moisturizer, so a facial oil or our facial cream. But it's a pretty sweet deal. But let's start at the top. So when we're building a basic routine, unfortunately, serums do not count. And yep, this would be a facial oil or the facial cream that would count towards that. But when we're building a basic routine, I want to start with kind of the most common and then give options that can kind of slim it down, because I work with a lot of people who are like, I want a super simple routine. I don't want something super complicated. We're typically talking about a cleanser, a toner, a serum, and a moisturizer that make up your basic routine. And the roles that all of these fit in your, kind of overall uh, layout here. Of course, cleansing is cleaning the skin. This is priming the skin. Your toning mist is providing this burst of hydration and this burst of very specialized nutrition, depending on which one you're going with. The serums, or excuse me, the toning mists are also very crucial for the serums. A lot of times when people are building their routines, especially if they're not working with us or they haven't watched any videos, what we see is that they might skip the toner. They're like, I don't really need a toner. But what toners do is they prime the skin really ideally for the humectants that are in every single one of our serums. Every single one of our serums starts with some form of a humectant. So the feel of that, when you've got a little bit of moisture on the skin, it just goes that much further. So toner and then serums. Serums tend to be this very specialized, this very lightweight, very nutritiously dense, very active skincare product that we're applying to the skin. Now, serums are different than moisturizers, and this kind of answers this question that Anne had here. Serums are going to be lighter weight. They tend to be very aqueous because we want them to absorb deeper into the skin. And oils tend to have some, moisturizers, whether it's oil or cream, tend to have some variation of a fat content. They're really supporting the kind of quality, the sustainability, and the barrier of the upper layers of the skin. So they're doing different things in the skin. Now, the question that always comes up is, well, can I just use a serum and not use a moisturizer? Most of the time, no, it's not going to feel very comfy. Now, the inverse, can I use a moisturizer and not use a serum? It's more common that people are able to get away with that. So you might be able to skip the serum. You lose a lot of potential benefits skipping the serum, but as far as the feel of the skin, there's a very strong chance that you are feeling pretty good. Okay, let me see Cherie's question here. Ooh, can I address the difference between the anti-aging facial oil and the cream? Use the oil. Oh yeah, it's so, I'm not going to talk you out of either one of them. So Cherie is asking about moisturizers, which is the final step in this four-step basic routine. She's asking about the anti-aging facial oil and the restorative facial cream. So let me talk a little bit about the differences between these two. And I'll start with the oil. So the facial oil, the anti-aging facial oil, is a very rich, very luscious jojoba oil that we steep different herbs and seeds and plants into. We have in the anti-aging facial oil things like broccoli seed, we've got goji berry, we've got chia seed. It is very, very rich. The facial oil is going to feel, of course, like a facial oil. And it sounds like Cherie, you're using the oil and you love it. So you know the feel of it. But if you aren't familiar with oils, this is going to feel like an oil on the skin. It's going to feel very rich. Now, all of our oils, whether it's the anti-aging, whether it's one of the herbal facial oils, they're starting out with this very pure oil base. They're largely unrefined. There's not a lot of doctoring that happens to the oil before it becomes this final product that gets applied to the face. So, in terms of kind of biorecognizability, this quick integration, the body quickly recognizes oil as a form of moisture. So it gets absorbed into the skin. It actually is able to be utilized by the skin. The finish of oils, they tend to be nice and dewy. They tend to be nice and reflective. I've got oil on today, so I've got a little bit of a sheen, a little bit of glowiness to the skin. Now the cream, the restorative facial cream, this is a fairly new one. We either just did or are about to celebrate the 1 year launch anniversary of the cream. So, we're pretty excited about it. This is going to feel different. It is a little bit, I mean, it feels like a cream, but absorbs a little quicker. We designed this kind of in direct contrast to the feel of the oils. When we were wanting to launch a cream, especially our first cream, we were like, okay, we want something that feels distinct from oils because we're part of the reason we are creating this is because we've got enough customers who maybe don't want oil. So the feel of this feels creamy. It feels very soft and very creamy. It absorbs very quickly, and that is a big difference with this one is that it absorbs very fast and it's got this kind of flat finish to it. It's not matte, and it is very supportive for dry skin. It's very peptide rich. It's super supple when you touch the skin, but the finish isn't quite as dewy as something like an oil, specifically the anti-aging facial oil. Another thing about the cream is packed with anti-agers, and they're kind of working in different ways than the anti-aging. So the anti-aging, the facial oil, like age reversing support is really coming a lot from the way that we're restoring skin and strengthening skin. These herbs in here, they're helping to sustain very resilient skin so that your skin can really bounce back and have this gorgeous kind of feel to it. The restorative facial cream, it's got a lot of kind of direct either fine line softeners or skin lifters. Something that's unique to the restorative facial cream is it is the only moisturizer that we carry at this point that has stem cells in it. And stem cells are very supportive for the lift of the skin. So if you're noticing drooping, if you're noticing kind of heavier look to maybe like the sides of the face here, stem cells can be very supportive. Now, if you're already getting stem cell support in your serum, you don't necessarily need to prioritize this, quite as much. But That is something that's distinct with this one. Every single ingredient on this list is kind of a powerhouse anti-ager. So this is one that's really nice for areas that have deep creasing, areas that are actively drooping, and things like that. So big differences, the feel of it, of course, is quite different. Some of the ingredients in the restorative facial cream are a little bit more directly targeting specific signs of aging, whereas the anti-aging is supporting a very resilient lifted look by supporting the strength of the skin. So I'll leave it at that, and hopefully that answers that there. I'm going to come in and get to some more of these questions. Feel free to pop these questions in here. So if you're hopping on or you're joining us as we're talking here, we're talking about a basic routine. Building a basic routine, different steps of the routine. We do have a very awesome promo that is 40% off any of our facial toners with the purchase of a moisturizer. So that's going on. Okay, next question. Do you prefer toner mist or like glycolic acid you put on with a cotton ball? That feels like a complicated question. So, something like a glycolic acid that you're applying with a cotton ball is going to be doing a deeply different thing than the toners that we have in our kind of lineup here. So, we have in our system either a toning mist or we've got one lactic toner, which might be the closest to what you are picturing here, my Instagram user. So when we're misting the skin, most of our toning mists are going to be fairly lightweight. They're focusing on providing a burst of hydration. They're focusing on staving off or softening fine lines in various ways. We've got one that's working on controlling oil, the rosemary toning mist. The other one, so the lactic toner, that one is a pump top. So it looks like this. You pump it into your hand and then you take your fingertips to apply it. This does have lactic acid in it. Now, we like lactic acid over glycolic acid because lactic acid is an acid that naturally occurs in the body. It's typically not as caustic as something like a glycolic or a salicylic. There are glycolics that exist out there that are purely sugar derived and can be quite clean. They're harder to find, and so that would be one of the first things that I would note as you're kind of, looking at your products or looking at which ones feel good for you. Is that glycolic acid within your own value system of what feels good to put on your skin? They're also going to be doing very different things. So if you're using something like a glycolic acid, especially with a cotton round, what's happening is you are actively exfoliating the skin. Now you do get a similar effect to that with the lactic toner, this guy here, with a different acid, so the lactic acid, and you're not using the cotton round. Another thing about toners that need to be applied with cotton rounds is you kind of lose a lot of the toner in the cotton round, in my opinion. So you're kind of feel like you go through the product quicker than maybe you would want to. Um, but ultimately, I feel like it comes down to what your preferences are, what your needs are, what you're doing. If I had to choose between a toning mist and the lactic toner, I don't know how I would decide because they're doing very different things for the skin and in the skin. So if I had it my way, I would be using both, and I do use both. So great question. Okay, cool. Okay, so I have the night serum eye cream and anti-aging oil with hydrate. Still feel dry in the morning. What can I do? Interesting. Okay, so a thought that I have here. One thing that I would keep an eye out for, so the night serum. So in the routine, you've got your cleanser. You might be toning, you might not be toning. We'll come back to that. You've got the activated night serum, eye cream, and anti-aging facial oil. The activated night serum, so our activated night serum, of course, contains our bioactive A, which is a retinol alternative. In being a retinol alternative, this is still an active exfoliant for the skin. So this is still something that can be, deeply exfoliating. For certain skin types, using it every single night is a little bit too much. So it's a little bit too exfoliating. It leaves the skin feeling a little dry. You might have your cheeks looking a little pink if you've overdone it with the activated night serum. So that would be the first place I would start is if you're using the activated night serum every single night, what it might be communicating is that's a little bit much for you. So it's very, very common with this serum to kind of alternate and maybe do a couple of nights on and a couple of nights off. And that being a pretty common way that this one is integrated. This is how I use it personally is I do 3 or 4 nights on and then I do 3 or 4 nights off. If I try to do this one every night, I do wake up feeling dry. So that's my first thought. The other thing that comes up for me, and this is just such a brilliant hack. This is going to be beneficial for everyone. One of the best ways to support the skin, if you are finding that your skin is feeling dry, even though you're using all of the right things, is with your toning mist. So if you think of the skin like a sponge, let's see, what's the quick version to do this analogy? Okay, you've got a spill on the floor and you've got a bone dry sponge. If you dropped the sponge onto the water, it's probably not going to absorb very much. Or if it is, it's going to absorb it very slowly. It might kind of absorb it in the little patches. If you were to dampen the sponge and wring the sponge out, so it was just lightly dampened, and then use that to absorb some of that spill, what happens is that you've got a lot more that gets absorbed with that sponge. Skin is similar. So as you're going through your routine, let's say you're using your toning mist, one hack that can help the skin feel way, way, way more moisturized is misting the skin and then leaving the skin damp and applying your serum and your moisturizer while skin is damp. So not waiting at all really in between steps while skin is damp and everything is on the skin, you are going through and applying the products. And what happens is it really pulls that in a much, much deeper way so that everything absorbs and is kind of sustaining the skin where we want it to be. So those are 2 tips for what might help. Another thing that could help, and I don't want to overwhelm you, Melinda, so I'll say this and this will be the last one. But if you're super interested, maybe, look into a one-on-one consultation with me. Shameless plug. I do one-on-one consultations. Love them. Um, is the cream, the restorative facial cream. Because of the ceramide and peptide composition in it, it tends to very, very, very easily hold on to moisture. So sometimes when we're sleeping on like a cotton pillow, cotton really easily will absorb oil. But with the ceramide and peptide, it sustains a lot more suppleness. And so what that might look like is a pump of the cream and a pump of the oil, and then blending that into your hands and applying that to the skin and yeah, getting that on the skin that way. So cool. Okay, let's keep going. I could throw out every Amory product for this one product. The lotion or cream is the best. Uh, thank you. I mean, the perfect product in every way. So rich. I think you're talking about the facial cream, Lindsay, which is amazing. Yeah. I'm an oil lover. So again, coming back to the basic routine, we've got our cleanser, our toner, our serum, and moisturizer, which can be either oil or cream or both. So typically, most days, what I do is I do a pump of the cream and a pump of the oil. So I actually mix them together. That is my, 100% my preferred way to do that. I'm a big, big fan of those. So that's how I like to use it. But yeah, you've got it. Oh, yes. Okay, so Jerlind, I think is the name. Recommendation for a rosacea routine. Let's do that. So a basic routine for someone who has very sensitive skin that's prone to reactions, skin that's prone to flare-ups, whether that's rosacea, whether that's dermatitis, whether that's just intense sensitivity. This routine is going to look the same. We're going to start with most likely the aloe herb cleanser, this one here. So the aloe herb cleanser is very soft, very, very gentle. This is a really nice one for balancing the skin. The product itself, we have steeped into it very soothing herbs like calendula. What else is in this one? Lemon balm. And the scent is super lovely. Yeah, no sulfate, so nothing's going to bubble up. So I would start with this one, the aloe herb cleanser. To tone, I would use the Botanical Hydration Mist. This used to be my go-to. I've been on a big rose hydrosol kick, but for sensitive skin, the Botanical Hydration Mist is very hydrating. But specifically, we have formulated this one with several different types of chamomile and a little bit of frankincense. And this is designed to be very soothing for skin that's prone to reaction. So skin that gets red, skin that has flare-ups, all of that. This is a really nice one to keep that very, very calmed. So again, botanical hydration mist, that's what I would use after the aloe herb cleanser. Serum wise, you could go one of two directions, and I'll introduce both of these. The first one is the probiotic serum with tremella. The probiotic serum with tremella is a very lightweight one. I'll show you the consistencies here. So this is the probiotic. You see it's got kind of an aqueous consistency. It's got good body to it, but it definitely, of course, will run down the back of my hand. It smells lovely. I love the smell of that one. The probiotic is formulated with a probiotic complex, as the name suggests, and an olive leaf ferment. And what both of those are doing is they are nourishing the good bacteria of the skin. So they are feeding the bacteria in ways that we want so that the natural microbiome can kind of balance itself out. It's also very, very gentle and very soothing. So if you have active flare-ups where skin is uncomfortable or red, it can be very calming for that. So very, very popular with a lot of customers who experience rosacea. The other option is the activated hemp serum, and I'll show off the consistency of this one. So you'll see right out the gate, the hemp is very creamy. It's not running down the back of my hand. It is going to stay right there. Got good body, good volume. So it's very, very rich. So if part of what you're experiencing is rosacea or intense sensitivity that's coupled with a lot of dryness, the hemp serum is very beneficial. Hemp in and of itself is a super fascinating ingredient. I could spend so much time on it, but we've got 7 minutes left, so not. But I always encourage looking up hemp. Look up how cannabinoids support sensitive skin because they are very, very directly supporting the skin in a lot of ways, but specifically if you're prone to reaction or discomfort. So that's an option. And then moisturizer wise, I would go with either the restorative facial cream, which is a really nice one for skin that's prone to being sensitive, or our herbal facial oil for sensitive skin. This one is a nice kind of middle ground weight oil. It's a little bit less moisturizing than the anti-aging, but it still has good body to it. That can be helpful for soothing skin. So really just calming skin down. So one of those two. And that would be the direction I would send you for rosacea. I do see that there are several more questions here. I do want to plug that here in about 6 minutes, we do have a group consultation that'll be happening. And Grace, if you want to link the Zoom, so anybody who, if we don't have time to get your question answered, you can certainly hop onto that, and we'll be diving a lot deeper into a lot of these concepts here. Um, so I'm going to keep just going in order of, first come, first answer kind of questions here. I do want to plug again, in case anybody's hopped on, that we do have 40% off toners with the purchase of any facial moisturizer, which is an incredible deal. We never do 40% off, like maybe once in a while around Black Friday. But we really believe in the pairing of these. And so if you're purchasing any facial moisturizer, use that coupon code ASC Facial 40 to get your 40% off your toner. Okay, Judith, would it benefit to use both stem cells and restorative cream together? I wonder if we mean the citrus stem cell serum, um, because typically, I don't necessarily recommend mixing the moisturizer and the serum. Can it be done? Totally. It's a different feel. Some people love it, but it just is going to kind of land different in the skin. But in all technicality, you could mix them together. You could definitely layer them. The restorative facial cream does have serums or excuse me, stem cells. So you're getting a nice stem cell benefit from the restorative facial cream. And then obviously the citrus stem cell serum has that as well. So, um, okay, Lindsay uses the retinol serum. And okay, let me see if I understand this question. Use the retinol one, the other best product they have. Thank you. In your opinion, probably overkill, but with Anne-Marie, you can't really mess up. Oh, so you're just sharing you're stacked. You've got a good setup. Thanks, Lindsay. I love the support. One of the things I love about these live calls is like a lot of times people hop on and we just have people celebrating our products. So thank you, Lindsay, for being one of those people. Okay, so this is I think this might be Diane Zoom user, or we have a couple Zoom users. So they purchased the lactic toner. Should you skip days in between use? That's a really good question, and that is going to entirely depend on how your skin is feeling. So a lot of my customers don't find that they need to skip days. They use the lactic toner every night. They have no issues. It's awesome. I have skin that can get dry and can get sensitive, and so when I am using it, I do skip some nights. I actually stack it with the activated night serum, and I'll do 3 or 4 nights on and then 3 or 4 nights off. So I take breaks and that's what works for me. But I've explored it and I've tried it. So what I might recommend is, try using it every single night and just witness what your skin is telling you. Is it communicating that it is too much? Is it communicating that it's completely fine? Maybe it's amazing using it every single night. One of the things that I really love about our products and our routines is it creates an amazing opportunity to tune into your body and your entire systems and to let you yourself kind of communicate with what your skin needs. So you might find that it works better to do it, but it's definitely not a requirement. So it's essentially up to you. Okay, I've got 3 minutes here. Do want to let you know again, we've got the consultation after this, but I'm going to keep going through here. So, what's the most hydrating toner, or what's your favorite toner and why? Ooh, as far as hydration, the rose hydrosol and the botanical hydration mist are going to be neck and neck. Both of these are anchored in a hydrosol, which is a hydrosol is like a watery runoff of the creation of an essential oil. So the body of a hydrosol is a little bit more rich than just aloe vera juice or just water. It's putting a little bit of moisture into the skin. So these two are neck and neck as far as hydration. Now, which is my favorite? Currently, the rose is really, really, really amazing. I do love the botanical hydration mist. It's one that I do use fairly regularly. It's been my favorite up until the rose hydrosol. But especially this time of year, I'm not finding that my skin is as sensitive. And so the chamomile that makes up the botanical hydration mist is not as imperative. The rose that makes up the rose hydrosol, we've got two different forms. They are very, very carefully chosen. And the way they work with the skin, they keep the skin very strong, resilient, great for fine lines. But one of the big selling points for me, honestly, is the scent profile of the rose hydrosol. I just love, love, love it. It's so light. It smells like rose, yes, but it smells like almost a citrusy rose, and it's very fresh. It does not smell perfumey. It does not smell super heady. It's very, very, very amazing. So this is one of my favorites. I could go further and further into like all of the energetics that we put in and around the rose hydrosol that also make it very cool. But I've got 1 more minute, so I am going to not. I do see that there are a couple questions that I didn't get to here, and we're kind of coming up right on time. So I am going to invite you to join us in the consultation if you're able to, even if you can just stay on for a few minutes and we can try to get some questions answered on the front end there. That would be my best recommendation. As we're closing out here, a basic routine again is going to include your cleanser, your toner, your serum, and your moisturizer. And as you're shopping for those pieces, we've got the coupon code ASC Facial 40. That's only live until 3:30 Pacific today. So it does have a shut-off point that's very, very soon. That I want to make sure that you have the awareness around that you can use before that time closes up. But you've got 40% off your toner with the purchase of any facial moisturizer. So with all of that, I'm going to close it out. Yay. Okay, Julie, that's awesome. That Zoom user, Julie. I'm gonna leave it at that. I look forward to seeing you all, whoever hops on the next call. That's awesome. But in all of our live calls, we love doing these and hopefully get to see you guys soon. So thank you for joining, everybody. We'll see you on the next one.